take a minute to diverge from the normal graphic design history lectures that you find in most of the books that have been written about graphic design history, which tend to be very Eurocentric, and I'm very aware of this, and I'm working to produce a more world view of graphic design history. And I wanted to bring to your attention the work of E B Dubois. I'm going to start out by saying the word Negro will appear frequently in this presentation and is not a word I take lightly, but it is a term Du Bois used and referenced throughout this phase of his career, and I do think it's best to honor and to textualize his use of language for this presentation. So E B Dubois was an activist and sociologist, and he created the exhibit of the American Negroes at the Exposition Universelle in 1900 in Paris in collaboration with Booker T. Washington, a prominent black lawyer, Thomas J. Calloway, the assistant librarian at the Library of Congress, Daniel Murray, and students from the historically black college Atlanta University. In 1899, Du Bois set off on a 10-year study of the Negro problem, which began the publishing of the Philadelphia Negro. And encouraged by the positive reaction, he immediately continued his research in both Virginia and Georgia. The charts I'm sharing were created in less than 4 months, and after the Paris Exposition, they were to be displayed in Buffalo, New York, and Charleston, South Carolina. Here's a series of statistical charts illustrating the condition of the descendants of former African slaves now resident in the United States of America. You can see incredible use of graphics here to convey some very loaded information in a truly elegant and refined manner. Du Bois himself said, "I got a couple of my best students and put a series of facts into chart. The size and growth of the Negro American group, its division by age and sex, its distribution, education, and occupation, its books and periodicals. We made a most interesting set of drawings, limned on pasteboard cards and about a yard square and mounted on a number of movable standards. The details of finishing these 50 or more charts in color and with accuracy was terribly difficult with little money, little time, and not much encouragement." So despite all these limitations, Du Bois made an incredible contribution to graphic design and to the history of our country. The brightly colored geometric charts are progressive, not just in substance, but in style. They really appear to anticipate American modernist graphic design by some 50 years. We're going to look at American modernist graphic design in a future lecture. The diagrams distill data on the rising number of African American teachers, land ownership, and even the value of furniture in African American households in a series of bars, circles, maps, and spirals. I love his use of simple primary colors, as well as the use of balance and focal point and scale. So looking at these charts, they're strikingly vibrant and modern, as if he's almost anticipating the crossing lines of Piet Mondrian or the intersecting shapes of Wassily Kandinsky. Here you can see a Kandinsky's work, who has been credited with really pioneering, the pioneer of abstract art. This was done in 1930, and if you look to the right, you'll see that E B Dubois' infographic was created in 1900, and there's a very good chance that Kandinsky saw this work as it was exhibited in Paris. Now, Kandinsky became an instructor at the Bauhaus, which we are also going to talk about in a future graphic design history, where he assigned specific colors and to specific shapes. You can see again a worksheet from the Bauhaus in 1922 and 23. On the right, you can see Du Bois' infographic in 1900 with a very similar assigning of colors to specific geographic shapes. Then we have Piet Mondrian painting called Boogie Woogie, which is from 1942, with these crossing lines and use of primary colors. We can see a E B Dubois infographic created in 1900. So working in a limited palette, Du Bois' color choices define a spare, crisp, and elegant style that relies heavily on these saturated primary colors. I believe it is his use of color that has informed some scholars to attribute this work as a body of work that is a precursor to modernism. Here again, we have these simple, elegant, informational charts that convey the conditions of both the rural and city population on the left and businessmen in the United States and the right, specifically Black African Americans. I love looking at this very carefully grafted out typefaces. And mind you, Du Bois was not educated as a graphic designer. He was a sociologist who had incredible eye and skill for creating graphics. And as it was first exhibited in Paris, he has some of them in both English and in French. The simplicity is really quite stunning. And the attention to craft is really quite remarkable. So at the Paris Exposition, the charts offered a view of Black life in post-antebellum South to a global audience in a show that marked major progress for the fight for civil rights. And for a modern viewer, they really proved that Du Bois' obsession with quantifiable facts was matched by his eye for beautiful graphic design, which influence of his work continues to show in graphic design and beyond in years to follow. So again, here on the right, we have Du Bois' work, and on the left, we have a piece by Paul Rand, a very well-known American designer from the modernist movement. So Du Bois' simplicity and elegance and control make his infographics deliver the information in effective and very much stunning compositions. There's a book recently published on all of these, so if you are interested, I do encourage you to do some self-sleuthing to find that book and dig in a little deeper. What he said for himself was an honest, straightforward exhibit of a small nation of people picturing their life and development without apology or gloss, and above all, made by themselves.